But there's 2 inches of snow and sleet and ice. Yeah, there's a challenge. Let's get there. So thank you for being competitive and meeting the challenge. A special welcome to those of you who are newcomers today. We are delighted that you're here. There's a lot of stuff on your table, and by the end of the day, we will use it all, I promise. So first, start by finding the sign-in pads. And if you would sign in on your sign-in sheet, and if you are a newcomer and this is your first time worshiping with us, if you would add your contact information, that would help us to get to know you a little bit better. And of course, there are refreshments before, during, and after worship. So there's lots of hot coffee. This is the last week of the pumpkin spice coffee because, you know, after Thanksgiving, we don't do pumpkin spice anymore. We move on to something else. So for those of you who like pumpkin-y things, have at it, and then go have a slice of pumpkin bread and get in the mood. So we are going to start. This is kind of interactive worship today. I planned it in a way that would get you guys engaged in giving thanks. So we're going to start with trivia. Okay? Some of the trivia is easy. Some of it maybe not so much. Okay? The name of the famous rock thought to be where the Pilgrims first landed. See, you guys are brilliant with history. A little bit tougher. From what year did the tradition of Thanksgiving start? 16-something. 16-something? 1621. Who said 1621? All right, that in modern times, that's when we kind of designate this day. And then, one that's a challenge, it's estimated that how many green bean casseroles are served on Thanksgiving Day? Too many. I like green bean casserole, so don't be dishing the green bean casserole. I'm having it tonight, man, and it goes well with turkey and stuffing it all together. 40 million. 40 million. Yeah, that's kind of disgusting. So the reality of the matter is that when it comes to Thanksgiving, in our modern world, in the United States, sometimes it gets a little glossed over, right? I mean, it does happen to be my favorite holiday because there's not a whole lot of commercialism, but I notice that we have to struggle sometimes with it becoming more about the food. I love the food. Dan loves the food. Dan and I are like looking forward to Thanksgiving tonight. We're like counting down the taste of the turkey. I love the food. But sometimes it becomes about the food and it becomes about like football. And more recently, it starts becoming about like getting your sales, like get shopping for Christmas, which I think is utterly ridiculous. But that's, and we forget about Thanksgiving. So we're going to kind of go back to the roots of Thanksgiving today. And even though in the United States we started kind of observing it in 1621, way before that, in the Hebrew Scriptures, we're told about a day of Thanksgiving. And Andrea was going to be our reader today, but she is stuck in a lot of snow up in the hill countries. So fortunately, I have students, and there they are. I don't know, which one's reading Deuteronomy? Woo, Bella's reading Deuteronomy. So welcome to Katerina and Bella and Nicole, Abby, sorry, Nicole was coming, no, but it's Abby. So they're all UAlbany students, they're my students, I love them, they're here, you've already bought some baked goods. So we're going to start with a reading from Deuteronomy, so listen on up.
After you have occupied the land that the Lord your God is giving you and have settled there, each of you must place in a basket the first part of each crop that you harvest, and you must take it with you to the one place of worship. Go to the priest in charge at that time and say to him, I now acknowledge the Lord my God, that I have entered the land that he promised our ancestors to give us. The priest will take the basket from you and place it before the altar of the Lord your God. Then, in the Lord's presence, you will recite these words. My ancestor was a wandering Aramean, who took his family to Egypt to live. They were few in number when they went there, but they became a large and powerful nation. The Egyptians treated us harshly and forced us to work as slaves. Then we cried out for help to the Lord, the God of our ancestors. He heard us and saw our suffering, hardship, and misery. By his great power and strength, he rescued us from Egypt. He worked miracles and wonders and caused terrifying things to happen. He brought us here and gave us the rich and fertile land. So now I bring to the Lord the first part of the harvest that he has given me. Then set the basket down in the Lord's presence and worship there. Be grateful for the good things that the Lord your God has given you and your family, and let the Levites and the foreigners who live among you join in the celebration.
Thank you. So, as you see in the reading, Thanksgiving is kind of involves this action. It's very action-oriented. So, like I said, we're going to start with some action things in worship. And the first action you're going to take is to stand on up and join us in singing. Oh, come on, thankful people, come. Mary Hope's with our call to worship and our opening prayer. Your heart's in that golden brownish color, harvest color.
Come, you thankful people, come.
Let us gather before God and lift up our songs of praise and thanksgiving.
God, our Maker, does provide for our wants to be supplied.
Let us give thanks for God's generous spirit. Let us give thanks for the blessings of food and family, of church and faith. Let us give thanks for the beauty of the earth. Let us praise God from whom all blessings flow.
Now please join me in prayer.
Lord of bounty and blessings, we come to you this day in gratitude for all that we have been given. We are grateful for the blessings and for the opportunities to be of service to others in your holy name. Bless each of us here, that we may become truly blessings to others. For we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Okay, so we started doing a prayer of thanksgiving, and I thought we'd do a little bit more. We did this last year, which I thought was kind of fun. So I'm going to go through the alphabet, which I know, from A to Z. And as I say a letter, you're going to offer up something for which you are thankful that starts with that letter. Got it? Okay, just shout them out. Don't raise your hand during style. Just say them all at once. A. Apple. B. C. D. E. F.
Football.
F. G.
Girls.
H. I. Ice cream. J. K. Kangaroos. Good. L. All I need is love. L. M. N.
Nora.
O. Ovens. P.
Peanut butter.
Q. Quilts. R. Rest. Amazingly, a lot of you rest. You're tired people, aren't you? S. T. Turkey. Yes. U. We're still thankful for too. U. V.
Violins.
W. X. X. Y. Z.
Zebras.
All right, good job. Now you're going to stand back up, and here's what you're going to do. The next part of our interactive worship, we're going to sing a song. And this is a dancing song, so stand up. And I need some people to come and be dancers. So let's see. Christine, Casey, all the kids should come forward. Definitely all the kids. Dave, I think Dave, and Dave. Maybe we should both Daves. No, I think both of you. Come on. And let's see, Tracy.
No, you know what?
So when it's dancing, okay, go to the next screen. Let's just show this, okay?
I feel out of place. No, we also
Can I have the next screen?
You, Tracy.
Okay, no, keep going until it's, you got me dancing and now I'm shouting, and when it's leaping, you're all doing this, they're just leading you, okay? And I'm spinning hallelujah, okay, you got it? It's interactive, you're gonna eat a lot of calories this week and you need to start burning some of them up. So back to the beginning, and in the other parts we just clap and dance wildly.
stress from my coffee case kicked in when she called me up the front of church.
And before we go to our reading for the day, I don't know about any of you, but the last couple weeks, and particularly as we approach the holidays, I get a little stressed, okay? Even though it's a good stress, and I do like the festivities and being with people and all that, it's like a little overwhelming. So I've asked Pat to do a little guided meditation with us before the reading to kind of calm our minds and our spirits and our bodies so we can actually hear the Word of God. So she's going to do a little meditation with us. She'll guide you. She'll tell you what to do. She's good at that. Yeah.
Thank you. So get yourselves into a comfortable position. All right? It really does help if you get your feet flat on the ground. There's something about being grounded that helps us to enter into this kind of prayer. And so do that, and we'll take a moment of silence, and then I'll begin. God of all good things, help us be quiet, to resist the desire to fill every moment with noise. The noise of living, the noise of our busyness, the noise of plans that rumble around in our heads. Clear our minds and give us a moment's peace. Help us to slow down enough to appreciate the beauty around us. Help us to focus on our own breathing, the rhythm of inhaling and exhaling, and to remember that you are the breath of life. Help us to relax in your love and in your creative powers. Enable us to place our trust in your abiding presence. Refreshing God, we thank you for these moments of quietness and relaxation. With glad and joyful hearts, we thank you for time in which we can begin to experience the uniqueness of all creation and of each moment in time. comes from Philippians chapter 4, verses 4 through 9. Always be glad because of the Lord. I will say it again. Be glad. Always be gentle with others. The Lord will soon be here. Don't worry about anything, but pray about everything. With thankful hearts, offer up your prayers and requests to God. Then, because you belong to Christ Jesus, God will bless you with peace that no one can completely understand. And this peace will control the way you think and feel. Finally, my friends, keep your minds on whatever is true, pure, right, holy, friendly, and proper. Don't ever stop thinking about what is truly worthwhile and worthy of praise. You know the teachings I gave you, and you know what you heard me say and saw me do. So follow my example. And God, who gives peace, will be with you. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.
Like this. It's Thanksgiving Day, and Pat and Lee are about to embark upon a conversation that maybe has happened at all of our Thanksgiving gatherings, either out loud or at least maybe within our heads and our thoughts, under the category of no matter what I say, I can't win conversations. So as they sit down to eat, they realize that it being Thanksgiving and all, they probably should say a prayer of thanksgiving, right? Somebody ought to pray. So they argue about it for a little while, a minute or two, about who should be the prayer. I know that's never happened at any of your tables. And finally, Lee gives in, because after all, Pat's the one who has made the turkey, so at least they should be the one who give thanks for it, right? And so they begin like this. Dear God, on this great day of much thanks, we give you thanks for all the things that you've done for us. That we have a home in which to live, that we have a delicious meal to eat, we have a loving family, and we have wonderful neighbors. After each phrase of the prayer, Pat has the running commentary, and Pat being Pat says it out loud. Well, I can't really be thankful for the turkey. After all, it did turn out a little bit dry. And I can't really be thankful for this home because ultimately they want to sell it and they want to have a bigger home. After having a little trouble feeling thankful, and they have a little trouble feeling thankful for the family that actually couldn't free up their schedule to be with them on that day. And the neighbors, well, their neighbors are actually downright annoying. And the list goes on and on. The more Lee tries to put a positive and good spin on Thanksgiving, the more Pat finds to complain about. Which conversation, which part of the conversation would you be a part of on Thanksgiving Day? I think that conversation conversation sometimes plays out in our head, and particularly around this time of year and perhaps in this day. And so I want us to think a little bit about their example, about how to do Thanksgiving wrong and what we can learn about doing Thanksgiving right. Most of us in the developed world, in the country in which we live and in the communities in which we live, are really actually rich beyond belief in comparison to a lot of folks in this country and other countries around the world. But there's this interesting thing that we have these short-term memories, and we can't recall all of the good times. And sometimes we get in the moment and all we can think about is the bad times. The people in Deuteronomy that was read for us earlier, they had some of the same problems. They are about to enter into the promised land. The promised land, the land flowing with milk and honey, where everything will be wonderful. God has promised them. And God sits them down and has a little heart-to-heart conversation with all of them. Mostly because I think God knows a lot about our human tendency, and so God gives them this little warning about their complacency. He reminds them to focus on what it means to be thankful and actually live lives of gratitude. It's an interesting thing. It's a tough time for them in terms of transition and embracing a whole new way of life. And you remember that the people at times on their way to the promised land grumbled and complained because they thought things were better in Egypt where they were slaves. There's this really thing, I noticed this thing about tough times for all of us, right? Oftentimes in tough times, our attitudes begin to shift. Instead of measuring what we do have in tough times, we tend to measure what we don't have, right? Instead of counting our own blessings, I think there's this tendency that we have to compare ourselves to the net worth of our neighbors. And that's not really what God had in mind for any of us when it comes to Thanksgiving. I think it happens first with our eyes and where we look and what we see. If we only see other people who we have deemed to be more fortunate than ourselves, we kind of build up this resentment and we see around us all negative things. Well, I don't have that. They're better off than me. I wish I had their life. I wish I had them. I wish. I mean, I will confess I had a little moment of this morning when I woke up and my eyes saw snow and I'm like, are you kidding me? Like I might have said a couple nutty words, okay? So it begins with what we see and where our focus is on our eyes, and then we let that impact our minds. And it wasn't long after I saw the snow that I started to have this pity party for myself and grumbling and complaining. And I think that's true with a lot of things we see around us. We see what's happening, we compare ourselves to others, we see the tragedies and the misfortunes of life, and pretty soon our minds are just circling around with that, thinking and spiraling out of control. And then an interesting thing happens. That thing that starts with our eyes and moves to our minds ultimately goes to our hands, and we end up being kind of like these tight-fisted people who want to hold on to whatever little bit we do have. And we don't want to reach out to other people, and we just kind of want to withdraw into ourselves and have ourselves at what I call a pity party, that's what my mom called it, and just hold everything closely and be just with ourselves. That's doing Thanksgiving wrong. Lee, in our conversation earlier, is doing Thanksgiving right. And it's a reversal of everything that's on the wrong side. So when we look out in the world, can we actually see the good? Can we see the things that are blessings to us, blessings in our world, blessings in our neighborhood, even the blessings in our home and in our family? Can we count those blessings, naming them one by one, as the old song goes? And based on what we see, can we reconfigure our minds to really actually feel gratitude and understand how truly blessed we are? And then can we let that channel to our hands so we're no longer tight-fisted, hanging on to just what we have because we think we have so little, but actually opening up our hands. And as they did in Deuteronomy, giving away as part of their thanks living. I hope that we can be those people of open eyes and open minds and open hands. We're going to do a little bit of a little exercise, okay? Because this is interactive. So stand on up again. Lots of exercise. For the flowers, for the turkey. So first of all, in terms of being open, I want us to think about what it would mean in this week, and not just Thanksgiving Day, but every day, to be open to worshiping God, to living lives of gratitude, to offering up our gratitude. So just simply start by raising your hands in gratitude to God. I know we're not normally hand-raising people here at Journey, but think about this. And maybe throughout this week you literally want to stop and do this as a physical reminder of what it means to live a life of gratitude. And then hopefully we can turn that into open hands that reach out to others. So you reach out in others with open hands, kind of embracing them and inviting them in. And I think in doing so, I think that'll lead us to being kind of an open community. And the people in the back already have it figured out because they're going to reach out and hold each other's hands too. Okay? So it's about worshiping God, serving others, and being community. That's what thanks living is all about. And so as we not just enter into this day of Thanksgiving or this week of Thanksgiving, but we enter into the holiday season, just remind yourself of that. Like literally, when you get stressed, do the deep breathing that Pat told you about. But you might also want to do this little exercise where you put your hands up, put your hands out, and then hold hands with somebody next to you. Go find somebody in your house and do that, okay? You can sit down. And we have an opportunity now to put our Thanksgiving into tangible action as we present our offering to God. So we're going to pass around the offering plates. Once again, this is really for those who have made a commitment to our church and the ministry that we do. If you're a guest worshiping with us for the first time, be our guest. There's no obligation for you to participate. And also on your cards, if you were not with us last week in worship, and you did not fill out a faith promise card, there are some on your tables. So if you would do that this week, that'll save me a stamp. It'll save me having to send you a letter or call you and track you down to get your faith promise. Those of you who are part of Journey know that we do zero-based budgeting, and what is actually pledged is what we budget. So even if you think that we know what you give, we can't include that in the budget until you put it on a card. Okay, so if you would do that, just put those in the offering plate as well. And we're going to sing, multitasking.
More
We give our offerings with the realization that we are not the ultimate owners of the property we call our own. We are returning to you just a small portion of what you have first given us. Receive these gifts with our thanksgiving and devotion. Amen. Now, instead of our regular prayer time today, we are going to take a moment to observe Transgender Day of Remembrance. So I'm going to invite my clergy team to come, Emily and Jen, and we're going to kind of lead you through this. It'll become totally apparent what's going to happen. And as Jen makes her way up, congratulate Jen. Her transfer from the United Methodist Church to the United Church of Christ is now complete. She has lots to give thanks for. So I just want to give you an introduction, first of all, to this, what we're going to do here. Transgender Day of Remembrance began in 1999 as a result of the increasing anti-transgender violence and discrimination. The first memorial event was held on November 1999 to remember and honor Rita Hester, who was murdered was murdered on November 28, 1998 in Boston. Rita Hester's murder, like many anti-transgender murder cases, is still unsolved. Our observance will begin with remembering those who have experienced anti-transgender violence and discrimination. And so on your table, there's a stack of little purple pieces of paper. If you would take those, we will be at some point at the first part of the service reading the names of those, and we're not actually going to light candles for all of them. It just got too complicated. But we will name them and honor them. And there is the list that got spread throughout the tables is about 100 people. And just know that those are only people from 2016. And it is from around the world. So we'll be asking you to read those names in a little bit. And then the second part of our vigil will focus on the journey to liberation. So we are going to name some of the achievements of the past year and just kind of honor the people who have been there on the journey with people who are transgender to help and support them along the way. So I'm going to turn it over to Jen first, and she's going to kind of help us understand why we remember.
George Santayana said, "Those who cannot remember the past are doomed to repeat it." And a wise person said in Ecclesiastes 3, verse 1 through 8, "For everything there is a season, and a time for every purpose in all creation, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to cast away, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to keep silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. And this is our time to remember."
We're not going to do this. I'll just kidding. Okay, so from here, what you're going to do is take the names of that are printed on. And I know we don't have time to read every single name individually, which would be the best thing. Like, that's what we're going to do tonight on campus. But just say your name, even if someone else is speaking. And I invite you at the conclusion of this to take your name with you this week. And particularly pray and remember those people who still are fighting discrimination. So on your piece of paper, just read the name, the city, province, state, and then after you read their name, just say, "We honor them." Okay? Somebody can begin. Jen has one, so she'll begin and show
I will
us.
this week because I can't read this name. Lana Dursa, cause of death, stabbed 30 times in somewhere in Brazil that I can't pronounce. The date of death was May 16th, 2016.
We honor them.
Ande Kadir, 24 years old. Murdered beyond recognition. Istanbul, Turkey, August.
Erica Tajiri, 36 years old. Death, 24
Please pray with me. Loving God, you know
the hopes of the helpless. Surely you will listen to our cries and comfort them. You will bring justice to the orphans and the oppressed, so people can no longer terrify them. Amen.
This is a time to celebrate our journey toward liberation and full human rights. We lift up all those who we have spoken this morning, who have gone before us to bring about the full human rights of transgender people and all other oppressed groups. We remember those who have worked to bring about the passage of the Gender Recognition Act and other important legal victories. We remember those who do not get access to the health care they need. We remember people, all those who are rejected by their families, their friends, and their communities. We remember all those lovers, friends, families, and communities that support us on our gender journeys. We remember that journey is not over, and that we will continue to work towards full human rights and equal services for all transgender people. We remember and celebrate our own journeys and the journeys of those in our community. And so we celebrate together for our human spirit and our ability to change the world we live in. Be with us as we journey together into the future. Amen.
Amen. So, because we're not doing our regular candle lighting, there are prayer cards on your table. They're yellow. And if you would have normally gone over to light a prayer candle at this point, just write it on the card. And my intent then is to take them and I'll send them out as an e-prayer so we can all be in prayer for all of those things throughout this week. Just hand them to me after the service. Yes. And I also want to let you know, like up here on the table, there is a lot of flags, different flags. So some of them are transgender flags, gay flags, lesbian flags, ally flags. So at the end of the worship, if you want to take a flag with you, take one. If you don't know which flag is yours, just take one and then go home and Google it. You might learn something. And it's an educational moment, okay? Like pick up one that's like, oh, I like this one, it's pretty. And then go home and like find out what it stands for, okay? And I invite you once again to carry those things with you and to remember those who have suffered this past year. Okay, closing song. Sam is back by popular demand because he did such a great job last week. So he's going to teach us a new song entitled Draw the Circle Wide. And yeah, he'll tell you what to do.
Oh, cool. I got my own thing again.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, here we go. I'm going to teach you, we'll learn you how to draw the circle wide now before we actually do
Stand
it.
on up.
Yeah, stand on up. Come on, everyone. This is audience participation again. I'm up here, but look at us now. We're all the same. Okay. Well, I mean, I'm up here, but other than that. Okay. So as you can see, the first verse here is, well, actually, that's the second verse, I think. So, I mean,
On the next screen?
Yeah, go to the next screen.
Try again.
Okay, try again. Wait, go try again. Let's keep going.
We may have different words.
We may. Okay. All right. We're going to do this a bit different.
We'll follow you.
Yeah, follow me. I, at this point, kind of don't know what I'm doing. But that's okay. So, if we're starting with this verse, the way that is going to go is Draw the circle wide, draw it wider still. Let this be our song. No one stands alone, standing side by side. Draw the circle wide. And that's how we're going to do that one. Okay, and the next one here. Okay.
No, again.
Okay, again?
Switch it to the first one.
The first one.
There. No.
No?
You're going to have to teach us the first part.
Okay, so we're going to teach you the first part. Disregard the screen here. So the first part goes. Here we go. So the lyrics for the first verse are: draw the circle wide, draw the circle wide. No one stands alone, we'll stand side by side. Draw the circle wide. See, there's a lot of draw the circle wide in this song. It's easy to remember. So the way that one goes is: draw the circle wide, draw the circle wide. No one stands alone, we'll stand side by side. Draw the circle wide. See, it's simple. And we're going to start with that one, and then we're going to move on to the second verse, and then we're going to start with the first verse. See, we're going to do the first one 2 times, second one I'll say 1 time, then we'll do the first verse 2 times again. And I encourage you all to sing along because, yeah, I like that. Yeah, it's big audience participation. I've got no backing stuff besides this little tambourine here. So, you are going to be the instruments. The voice is my favorite instrument, which is yours too. Or not. I don't tell you what to do. Okay, everybody ready?
Yes.
Draw the circle wide. Draw the circle wide. No one stands alone, we'll stand side by side. Draw the circle wide. Draw the circle wide. Draw the circle wide. No one stands alone, we'll stand side by side. Draw the circle wide. Draw the circle wide. Draw it wider still. Let this be our song. No one stands alone, standing side by side. The circle, draw the circle wide. Draw the circle wide. Draw the circle wide. No one stands alone, we stand side by side. Draw the circle wide. Clap along, guys. This is the last verse. Go with the tambourine. Draw the circle wide. Draw the circle wide. No one stands alone, we stand side by side. Draw the circle wide. There you go. Not that bad.
Today and every day, may we discover what is beautiful and call it a blessing.
May we recognize the way in which our lives are intertwined with the lives of others and with all of God's creation. May we be bold to praise God with our thanksgiving.
Let us go in peace to love and serve the Lord. Amen.